It's seriously, like last Friday, you brought one in and it dropped it off, and I said, "This thing has its own category on Pornhub." I mean, this is just so oversaturated. And now, before you hand me this one, you said, "This one's really wet," and you drop it on the table, not to hand it to me, to drop it on the console. It made a sound, and then a little squirt sound.
Yeah,
and I've wiped down everything I could possibly wipe down. It is still wet as hell.
Sorry.
And by the way, how did you get into the studio? And how are you wearing pants today with balls that are that big? You, my friend, are huge.
Okay.
Really, really huge.
I'm not going to make a bigger deal about this than it was. And this is the unfortunate part. I, as many people know, am a big Tom Brady fan.
Yes, we know you're a big Tom Brady fan.
I root for the New England Patriots when they're not playing the Detroit Lions, and especially on Sundays when I pick the Lions to beat the Patriots. I'm really rooting for the Lions. However, the unfortunate part about this whole thing is that it, as far as I'm concerned, it really does reflect on the state of the Patriots. I mean, you could see that the Lions started to come together a little bit at San Francisco. What really sold me was some of the things the players had said and tweeted after the San Francisco game that bought into Patricia, that kind of got rid of the dysfunction. And if you looked at the matchup, I thought that New England was going to struggle taking advantage of some of Detroit's weaknesses or perceived weaknesses. I actually thought that the Lions might be able to do something on the offensive line to protect Stafford and get some holes going for the running game. And so, unfortunately, this is more of a reflection of the Patriots than it is of the Lions. Like, I would be, and let me put it to you like this. I would be if I'm a hardcore Patriot guy, which I'm not, I'd be far more concerned about the future of the Patriots this year than I kind of am about the future of the Lions, than I am excited about the future of the Lions. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think the Patriots are in real trouble. I think last night was indicative of that. I do not think last night is indicative of the Lions about to take off. I think they have a chance here. They have an amazing chance to get to 2-2 with a win Sunday at Dallas. And if they get to 2-2, they will have done what people would have considered a success and probably won the wrong 2 games, which is better than winning the right 2 games in a lot of ways.
Let me first state this. That's a good win for the Lions.
Yes.
It's a really good win.
It's a good, no doubt.
I'm not going to minimize the win at all. So don't take whatever's coming next as minimizing the win. It's a good win for this team. They needed that win, and I like the direction where they're going. But when you say that this is a different-looking Patriot team, you're right. And going into the game, you hear the inactive list, and you hear about 3 of their top defenders being out of this game.
They were already going to have problems pressuring Stafford.
Well, yeah.
And then
they lose the guys they lost. In addition to that,
their best pass rusher,
and Patrick Chung, the safety, and then one of the corners. And then you find out that Josh Gordon is not playing. The Patriots will look a little bit different in the weeks to come because Josh Gordon will play as long as he doesn't smoke himself out of the league again. And it'll be a much better looking offense that they have. Last night, the Lions defense clowned on the Patriots all night long. Tom Brady was 14 of 26 for 133 yards, a touchdown, 1 god-awful interception. He was sacked a couple of times. His quarterback rating was 65. The running game, they had 89 yards on the ground, but how many of it came on the last drive where the Lions are like celebrating already? I mean, like, I'll be 50 yards? Came on the last few runs?
A lot.
The Lions shut down the Patriots offense like it was nothing. Like they were kneeling in front of Negan on this thing, you know? I mean, he shut that stuff down.
Wow.
I did it. And the Lions offense left points on the table. They settled for a couple of field goals when, they Stafford missed an open Marvin Jones in the end zone. They decided to kick a field goal instead of going for it on 4th and 1, the opening drive. Some strange things happened in the game, and yet the Lions were never really in danger. 26-10, they win this game, and it was a laugher. The time of possession was ridiculously in favor of the Lions. They finally got their 100-yard rusher in Kerryon Johnson. The Lions as a team ran for 159 yards. I mean, that was a great effort from the Lions. And it's not, that team last night was not a very good Patriot team, not vintage Patriot. Doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because it's still the Patriots, it's still Tom Brady, and I'm sure the haters are going to say, they'll say all they want about how bad the Patriot team is and now they're 1-2 and all. I don't care. I don't care. What I care about is, did the Lions get better? Now, was I dead wrong in thinking that I thought they were going to lose? Yeah. Hey, I was wrong. And I couldn't be happier that I was wrong. But what you saw in that game is maybe a learning curve that's starting to curve in the right direction here. Mm-hmm. The players look like they are buying in. And when you get to play against a team where this organization is really, from, when you look at Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia, and you hear about the Patriot way, and last week you started hearing from the national people talking about, Matt Patricia, he learned from the Patriots, and Bill Belichick, they do these long practices on Fridays, and Mondays are not easy workout days for the team, and it's just the Patriot way. You work hard. Well, that's exactly what Patricia's trying to do with the Lions, that is met with such grumpiness by some players, at least expressed through their agents. Last night, you win the game against the team that does all that, and you can say, oh, wait a minute. It's like a light bulb clicks on your head. Yeah, we do have to put in the work, and then when you win, it's easier. Had they lost that game, I forget who it was that said it last night. It may have been Al Michaels or Chris Collinsworth that, look, if they lose that game, it's a different look, all right? If the Lions don't win it, then actually it may have been Sportsworks, and it may have been Jamie Samuelson, that if they lose that game, it's going to be hard to buy into this team. They didn't. They won it. It's got to be a lot easier to buy into it now, and that's the encouraging part because this team can run the football. They did run the football last night. We know Stafford can play better. The interception he threw last night was a terrible mistake. He can play better. This offense can be better. But the defensive side of the ball, wow, that was impressive. Again, albeit against
it's not a vintage Patriot
not a vintage Patriot offensive team, but it still has Tom Brady there.
So, in watching the Patriots the first couple of weeks, it became clear to me that they did not have offensive weapons outside of Gronk, okay, that Brady could rely on. We all, including me, one of the things that I was kind of expecting was for him to have one of those days where, yes, him and Gronk have a field day, but Brady helps make somebody else better. We all talk about, Chris F. and Hogan or something like,
right.
9 catches for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the Lions, you could see it, concerted effort to shut down Gronk, and nobody else could hurt him. Nobody else could hurt them. And that looks like a dysfunctional group on the other sideline. The Lions have turned this thing around from a dysfunctional standpoint. At the beginning of the year, the first game of the year, the output against the Jets far fell short of the talent on the roster. Week 2, they put up a fight, and people started mocking, there's no moral victories. No, there's not, but there's steps in the right direction. And that was definitely a step in the right direction, specifically offensively. And I think the Lions are now on a streak of 47-10 outscoring opponents in the last 6 quarters. Something like, I'd have to go back and look. It's something like that. Things are starting to mesh a little bit. I can't believe I'm saying this. I don't think that was the real test. The real test to me is Dallas. Dallas, if they go to Dallas and wins, that puts a stamp of legitimacy on what just happened. This is not about, they've turned it around. Here we go. And I said it last week. I think they're going to win the game, but it doesn't mean they're off and running. It was a reflection of where the Patriots are and what the Lions are capable of. And the most encouraging thing by far was their job that they did up front on the offensive line as far as I was concerned.
Yeah, I think there absolutely is that. And you talk about, outscoring opponents, whatever it is, 46-10 in the last 6 quarters. Well, that 10 spot looks pretty good for the defense, too. To me, I'm more impressed with what happened with the defense. Because for years, all we hear about with Tom Brady, and it's true. I'm not making fun of this and putting not being sarcastic. What Tom Brady does, he makes everybody around him better, right?
Yep.
He does. So it doesn't matter if your receivers are Chris Hogan and you got Cordero Patterson, you still have Gronk, and then you got Burkhead and Sony Michel and James White out of the backfield. Okay, is that vintage? No. But this is the stuff where Brady makes those guys better. And James White is not a joke of a player. James White's a pretty good player. Lions shut him down. They decided we're gonna go out there, we're gonna stop Rob Gronkowski as much as possible, and we're gonna let everybody else go free and see what happens. Well, it worked. It worked. The game plan of Matt Patricia, let's keep Tom Brady on the sidelines as much as possible, that worked. And it doesn't work unless the offensive line is able to do their job, move that defensive line forward, open up some holes, and get that running game going, get the short passing game going. It's exactly what happened. It was a really nice effort all around for the Lions, and I'm not going crazy with the win, but I like the direction the team's going at. And you look at the landscape of the NFL from what happened yesterday, which was a crazy day in the NFL, and we have these crazy days a couple times every year. Yesterday was one of them, and it gives you a little insight into what can happen during the course of the season. So what looked like an abysmal start to the year, I think there's hope for it now, at least a little bit more hope of what can come in the future, because Dallas certainly doesn't look like world beaters in Dallas right now.
248-539-9797. We'll get to your phone calls. Champ and Chump nominations coming up today at 10:35. Time to pay homage to somebody who was awesome this weekend and call somebody who stunk. We'll have ours at 10:35. We'll get to your phone calls, your reaction. The real question is, in your view, what does that win mean? Is it indicative of things to come? Does it really give you a sense that this team can do great things this year?